Welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, hitting all the latest NFL rumors and a bunch of news on today's show as well. We begin once again with the latest on DeAndre Hopkins. Of course, the Cardinals did not trade Nuke during the NFL draft, and now Hopkins is saying that he didn't want to be traded in the first place. They don't know where that information was coming from. Very important to make note. Multiple people said they had talked to Hopkins, NFL players such as Von Miller, former ones like Des Bryant, and the buzz was that, or in Von's case, straight up said Hopkins wanted to be in Buffalo. So that is noteworthy. And then, Adam Jones, who was clearly close to Hopkins, was making comments about it. And the Cardinals gave DeAndre Hopkins permission to speak a trade. So when DeAndre Hopkins says this, I see everybody telling me to stay. Who said I want to go? Who said I want to leave? I'm out here working, baby. Well, I mean, he did, right? At least a little bit. Clearly, there was an issue with the relationship between Hopkins and Arizona, and he had told other NFL players he wanted to play there, and there have been multiple reports of Buffalo, KC, Dallas, that Hopkins wanted to end up playing there. So with with Hopkins telling Von Miller, Adam Jones, etc., Des Bryant, that he had interest in playing for a different team, well, that means Nuke did. He's the one who said it. You don't really get to have it both ways of tease and toy with one fan base, then if it doesn't go down, come back to Arizona and say, I never wanted to leave. What are you talking about? There were issues. I think the contract is a big one and why he hasn't been moved. I know that Rappaport has said Hopkins is open to adjusting his deal or doesn't want to be the highest paid receiver. I do think Hopkins wants the money he's at least in line to make right now, and that's about $20 million each year the next 2 years. A little bit less next year, actually. But that's a lot of money for a guy that's missed time the past 2 years. And I still think is really good. I am surprised has not been moved, but the Cardinals have not yet found a match. Now, they, I think, got the Texans to bid against themselves for the number 3 overall pick. Well done, Arizona. But their own GM has said, no one's offered what I want. And I think that was about a second-round pick. At the aged contract, no one wanted to move that for Hopkins. So unless the asking price drops or the contract drops at some point, doesn't really seem to make the most sense. So there is still time. The trade deadline, the NFL season starting in September. Let's say by week 1, because we'll revisit it again after the deadline, I'm sure. Will DeAndre Hopkins be traded? Sound off at the pinned comment of today's video. Y for yes, N for no. If the ad break comes here, perfect time. Take advantage of it. Head down there, Y or N. Let's talk Jared Goff now. As the report out of Detroit, the Detroit Free Press, is that the Lions are trending towards an extension for Jared Goff at some time in the next 15 months. We're going to come back to that. The Lions drafted Hendon Hooker this past year in the 3rd round. That's kind of in your buffer range of he's going to be a great backup. He might be our future starter. Jared Goff has 2 years left on his deal, and he also counts almost $31 million against the salary cap this year. An extension would bring that down in the short term. But I want to be clear on this. An extension happening in the next year and a half is not a sign of a commitment. You're not trending towards an extension if your timeline is after this upcoming season. That is let's see what happens, and then we'll make a decision on Goff's long-term future. That is not a sign of commitment, a sign of, yes, this is our guy, when he's got 2 years left on his deal and he's counting $31 million per the cap. That's not, letting the year play out and then go into a contract year and then maybe pay him. That is not a commitment. That is not trending towards an extension. I've never quite seen a prove-it year spun in that way. It's very impressive, Detroit. Well done. There are 3 levels to Jared Goff's game. There is Jared Good, when he plays well, which we saw a decent amount of in 2022 at his best with the LA Rams. There's also Jared Goof, which is why the Rams moved on from him. And then in the middle there, of course, is Jared Goff. Hendon Hooker, meanwhile, could maybe be a solution down the road. Probably not this year. He only just started throwing before the NFL Combine, so he's not exactly a immediate impact player from that perspective. I'll also make note that Hendon Hooker is 3 years younger than Jared Goff, which is kind of crazy, but that's the case. Hooker's 25 right now. Goff's 28. He turns 29 in October, but I'm going to spin my narrative anyway. So maybe Hooker's the long-term solution for the Detroit Lions, and maybe they do get great play out of Jared Goff, and they become the playoff team that, as weird as this is, we all think they should be this upcoming year. Where does Goff for you guys rank among NFL quarterbacks? Sound off in the comments section right now. Let's stick in the NFC North. We'll talk Jordan Love. A rather creative solution here for the Packers. The fifth-year option is now fully guaranteed. When you pick it up, you can't then cut a player before week one. That's kind of the dicey part from this perspective. The deadline for the fifth-year option was on Tuesday. Just before that deadline arrived, the Packers and Love got a long-term, well, not a long-term deal done, but a new deal done. 1-year extension at $22.5 million with $13.5 million guaranteed. So this is it's in between make Love prove it and run the risk of Daniel Jonesing yourself, and also still giving Love a little bit of guaranteed money without fully declining or accepting the fifth-year option. So it's kind of a creative middle ground solution that does still edge more towards the we believe in Jordan Love side, which is a gamble for the Green Bay Packers. Look, they spent a first-round pick on him, and he's barely played. One start over 10 games, 606 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The sample size is not exactly a large one, and it's very tough to have a firm answer one way or the other when you're only throwing a couple of passes per game on average. You don't really know what he is. Now, Green Bay, in theory, has the best solution or the best answer to that, although we've seen teams think they have the guy and then they don't. So is Jordan Love the answer for Green Bay? Can they have 3 straight franchise QBs with no beat in between, from Favre to Rodgers to Love? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for us in the comment section. This contract the Packers gave Jordan Love kind of covers their bases in the event that the answer is yes. That if he is the answer, they actually got him well below market value, and they can work on a long-term deal alongside of it. So it is kind of a middle ground. They're not going to risk it all on Love. If they miss, they'll pay a little bit extra money, but less than they would have had they picked up the fifth-year option. So I don't mind the contract for Green Bay. They're just going to have to hope that it ends up being a good one. Now, if you want the best chat sports coverage around the NFL, I mean, what more could you possibly want than what we have for you? Hit that sub button right now. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Free videos every single day, multiple times per day when you hit that sub button right now. Let's run through the updated NFL free agency tracker for you guys. Several moves made as of late, beginning with a former Packer. Randall Cobb is joining the New York Jets on a 1-year deal. Contract details not yet known. Again, you will not be able to convince me that this isn't a Rodgers-focused move, because Randall Cobb is not good anymore, and yet Aaron Rodgers continues to absolutely love him. The Bengals have a new quarterback to back up Joe Burrow, of course. Trevor Siemian, the former Bears QB, now takes over in Cincinnati as Burrow's backup, while the previous backup, Brandon Allen, is going to the 49ers, so he will slot in behind Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, if he's healthy for week 1. Probably means Allen would make the roster, but it gives them a veteran option in the event that there is and remains the Brock Purdy injury concern. Poona Ford, I love this deal. We don't have the details yet. I am very curious what it ends up looking like, but Poona Ford was one of the better available defensive linemen on the open market. He is a really good fit for what the Bills would like to do, kind of that undersized, i.e. not 30 pounds, one technique there. Poona Ford was the guy that I had my eye on for several different teams. The Bills end up landing him. Love that addition. They also have added Latavius Murray, and the contract details are known. 1 year, $1.32 million, $800,000 is guaranteed. That is the type of contract, after the Bills did not draft a running back, indicates that Murray will be on this football team. He'll be there behind James Cook, etc. So a big addition there for Buffalo in terms of the backup running back role. There's enough guarantee to make me think he will make this team. Houston, meanwhile, has brought back Eric Tomlinson for a second stint. He is a blocking tight end. We will see if he ends up making the roster. And finally, moments ago, Shane Zimenez, a one-year deal to re-sign. Not finally, I forgot about one more. Thank you, Sam. A one-year deal. They came back-to-back. One-year deal for the New York Jets. He'll fight for a depth role. And then the big-time one, of today's at least, is Rock Ya-Sin getting a one-year deal worth up to $6 million. The Ravens had brought Rock Ya-Sin in previously. You're asking why the flurry of moves? Well, that's in large part because the NFL comp pick formula is no longer impacted by signings with one like Rock Ya-Sin, which probably would have counted, could have cost Ravens a fourth-round pick for Ben Powers. They avoid that by signing Rock Ya-Sin to the one-year deal after the NFL draft. He could start very quickly for the Ravens, or at least be a great backup.